Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and in this particular video, I am going to review the movie A New Hope, one of my all-time favorite movies. Okay? Now, even though it is one of my all-time favorite movies, I have a bunch of questions for it. Okay? Several pages of questions, as a matter of fact. So here is what I would like for you to do. If you have the DVD copy of A New Hope, I would like for you to place that into your DVD player and go ahead and play it while you're watching this particular video. And if you have the digital copy, start the digital copy while you're watching this video. And here's the reason why. Because the questions are all in sync with the movie. Okay? From the title sequence all the way to the end of the movie. And you'll see this as I ask the questions. So let's just get into this, shall we? I may stutter, I may stammer, but we're going to get through this anyway. Alright. Let's begin. Which galaxy? What are we hoping for? How many years has these struggles gone on so far? What is the name of the base? After years of struggles, the rebellion finally won a victory. Why did this victory take so long? How many spies went on the mission? How did they discover the secret plans? Why has no one seen this base so far? Where is Princess Leia's home? How did Princess Leia obtain a starship? What was the name of Princess Leia's starship? Why didn't the laser blast destroy the starship? Why wasn't the air suddenly sucked out of the starship? Why is C-3PO concerned about being disassembled? Is he artificially intelligent? Why can't R2-D2 speak English? Why are there noises when the large ship hasn't grabbed the smaller ship yet? Think about it. The larger ship eventually grabs the smaller ship. Why are there noises before that actually occurs? That's a good question. How could stormtroopers aim at so many people, okay, yet they cannot successfully tag R2-D2 and C-3PO? And it seems like if you go through the rest of the movie, they can't tag much of anybody else either. Okay? Why did C-3PO ask R2-D2 what to do? What, is R2-D2 smarter than C-3PO? Good question. Why is Darth Vader asking a pilot where the plans are? What, he doesn't have a bunch of computer hackers on board his own ship that could go into this smaller ship and hack the computers to try to find where the plans are? I mean, why can't he use the Force to find out? Didn't have to particularly ask the question, just read the guy's mind. And did Darth Vader actually think that the pilot would actually tell him the truth? Really? And why didn't Darth Vader just let the guy go? Okay, why did he have to go to the extreme of tossing him aside? He didn't have to do that. He could just let the guy go. Why did Princess Leia think she could take on lots of stormtroopers all by herself? Why didn't Princess Leia continue to aim at the stormtroopers? Okay. If Darth Vader wanted everyone alive, Why was his crew aiming and disassembling, as we shall say, the escape pods? Why were they doing that? And how much battery life does C-3PO actually have? And why didn't R2-D2 detect the Jawas? Now this is very important because a little later on, he did detect other things. So if he could detect other things, why didn't he detect the Jawas? That doesn't make any sense. How did R2-D2 keep his balance as he slid down the incline? He was going down an incline. How did he keep his balance? If the device the Jawas used shorted out all of R2-D2's electrical systems, how did R2-D2 retain his memories? How to retain all that data? I'd like to know that. Why didn't the Jawas carry R2-D2 into the transport? It took the stormtroopers all night to find the pod and figure out that the droids escaped. Really? It took them all night to figure all this out? Huh. What kind of oil was C-3PO dipped into? Why couldn't R2-D2 play the entire message when he started playing the message in the first place? Why wasn't R2-D2 able to play back the entire message after the restraining bolt was disconnected? I'd like to know that as well. Why didn't Luke disconnect the restraining bolt right away? Why did he wait so long? Wouldn't the gravitational pull of two suns disassemble the planet Tatooine? And wouldn't the heat of the two suns disassemble the ecosystem of Tatooine? I know it was a desert planet, but I mean, they actually were farming on the planet. They actually had an atmosphere. Wouldn't the suns, the heat of the suns totally dismantle the ecosystem of the whole planet? Making it virtually impossible to breathe on the planet, much less do anything else? Why did Luke Skywalker ask C-3PO to activate the accelerator? Now let me get this straight. R2-D2 detected the Sand People, but not the Jawas? Really? Didn't R2-D2 recognize Obi-Wan Kenobi? And Darth Vader himself, after all these years, was unsuccessful in finding Obi-Wan Kenobi up to that point? Really? And no one who built the small moon discovered the weaknesses of the small moon and corrected them? After all those years? Really? Poor research on their part. Why is Darth Vader taking orders from anyone? Wouldn't the stormtroopers have an inventory of the droids on Princess Leia's ship? Okay, now wouldn't if the people from the bigger ship climbed onto the little ship and hacked the computers, wouldn't they be able to see an inventory of all the droids that had been on the smaller ship? That way they would know what droids to look for. Please. Alrighty. How did the alien avoid the penalties on the 12 systems? How did he avoid all those penalties? Really? He has penalties on 12 different star systems and yet still managed to make it to Tatooine. I would say that the authorities of those 12 systems weren't doing their job. And how could the stormtrooper tell that the door was locked? And couldn't he just force the door open? Didn't he have equipment with him that could actually do that? And Alderaan could not detect the small moon? Really? And why didn't Alderaan evacuate the planet the very second they detected the small moon? And don't tell me they couldn't detect it. Really? That thing was too big for them not to be able to detect it. And why didn't Alderaan have any way to protect themselves? There's an interesting thought. And if you watch the special edition, the lightsaber suddenly changes color. Really? Why is R2-D2 playing chess with Chewbacca? Don't meteors have to fall towards the surface of a planet to be called a shower? Think about it. And couldn't the ship, they had this small ship that the Millennium Falcon was chasing at the moment, couldn't that smaller ship that belonged to the Empire, couldn't that smaller ship have come from a much larger ship nearby? It didn't have to come from a base. It could have come from another larger ship somewhere that those people didn't see right off the bat. How could the short-range fighter identify the Millennium Falcon when there were no large ships or star bases nearby? Okay, so what I'm saying here is even if the short-range fighter had made a transmission, where would it go? There wasn't any big ships around, and there certainly wasn't any bases around, so the transmission would have gone nowhere. So what was Han Solo worried about? I have no idea. By the time the short-range fighter would have told anyone where the Millennium Falcon was, the Falcon could have just gone somewhere else. They could have jumped back into hyperdrive and disappeared. And how did Obi-Wan Kenobi know that the small moon was actually a space station? Now, I know he had the Force and everything, but he wouldn't have been able to know exactly what it was. He probably would have seen. He probably would have felt a lot of people with the Force, but to stand there and say that he knew that that small moon was actually a space station, really? Why didn't the Millennium Falcon sensors indicate that there was a tractor beam? Should have picked that up and sent up warning signals all over the place. Why didn't the small moon scan or attempt to contact anyone on the Millennium Falcon, especially if you consider that when the Millennium Falcon was initially caught by the tractor beam, Han Solo tried everything he could to put the Millennium Falcon's engines in reverse to try to get away from the tractor beam. That would have indicated that somebody was actually on board. Well, at that point, wouldn't the small moon scan the ship? Or at least attempt to contact the Millennium Falcon? And why didn't Darth Vader walk on board the Millennium Falcon? I mean, when it finally landed, he went up to the Millennium Falcon, but why didn't he just climb on board? Okay. Now, when the commander told Darth Vader that there was nobody on the ship, and Darth Vader knew perfectly well that there was, why didn't Darth Vader right off the bat say, "Commander, you're a liar"? He should have. Okay. All Alright? And nobody on the small moon, or otherwise known as the space station, okay? Nobody heard the laser beams. Okay? 4 people entered the Millennium Falcon, and you hear the laser beams, and you're telling me that nobody else around that area heard any of the laser beams at all? Yeah, right. And how did Han Solo and Luke Skywalker change their clothes so fast? Because remember, they had to put on those stormtrooper outfits. Yeah, that was quick. And whatever happened to the first 2 people that entered the Millennium Falcon? You saw 2 people in plain clothes walk in there, and then you saw 2 stormtroopers. Well, what happened to the first 2 guys? We don't know. Alright. And you're telling me that R2-D2 can actually hack any computer at all? Really? And no one detected R2-D2 as he hacked the main computer? Now, did you see when R2-D2 brought up the map of the small moon? He brought up that map. Did you see how quickly everything flashed on the screen? And you're telling me that Obi-Wan was able to absorb that much information that quickly? Really? I don't think so. And the door controls obey Luke's commands? Don't we have a thumbprint identification on the door? Give me a break. And think about it. Somehow Luke knew where level 5 detention block AA-23 was. How did he know that? And why were there handcuffs in the room in the first place? Really? And no one asked any questions about Chewbacca being on the small moon at all? All the cameras in the room, and no one noticed the struggle? Think about it. Here they were in the detention block, and they had all these cameras, and nobody was watching intently the struggle that was going on. And gee, when they disassembled the cameras, why didn't anything go ding-dong in their heads? Something might be wrong. Why did they even bother contacting Han Solo and seeing what was going on? Even though they didn't know it was Han Solo they were talking to, still. They contacted Han Solo after all those cameras were disassembled? No. They should have just sent stormtroopers down there in the first place. And the people in the control room at first actually believed what Han Solo was saying about the malfunctions. Really? Like I said, they shouldn't even contacted him at all. But even if they did, they actually bought that story at first? Right. Now, how did Princess Leia know that Obi-Wan Kenobi was now going by the name of Ben Kenobi? She wasn't on Tatooine. She never met the guy. How would she know that? Now, I know that Obi-Wan Kenobi used the Force to fool the... He used the Force to fool the stormtroopers. That's true. But you're telling me that Obi-Wan Kenobi was able to fool the droids that were going around there too? Right. Now, why did they place trash compactors near prison cells? Okay. Now, if the stormtroopers have such great aim, why did they miss Han and Luke? Shoot, earlier in the movie they missed C-3PO and R2-D2, yet we are told by Obi-Wan Kenobi that they have great aim. Really? Okay. And why wasn't R2-D2 able to hack the restricted information? How did Princess Leia know that there was a garbage chute nearby? How'd she know that? Did she have a map to the small moon? And do those lasers ever run out of power? And if so, how much is there, like a power indicator on the lasers themselves? Do we ever see a power indicator that says, hey, you know, you're running out of juice? Right. And no one tracked down Luke and Han to the garbage chute right off the bat? All they had to do was look at the hole. Once Luke and Han and everybody went down that garbage chute, all these people had to do was just figure out what tunnel that was. They'd know exactly where Luke and Han were. Right. Now, the trash compactor starts to compact the trash, if you'll remember. And you're telling me that C-3PO couldn't remember to contact Luke right off the bat. Really? He tells R2-D2 to search the databases to see if Luke and Han were captured before he tries to contact Luke. That didn't make any sense. And you're telling me that Obi-Wan was able to successfully find the tractor beam before Darth Vader found Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right? Now, why didn't a maintenance crew follow the stormtroopers to the tractor beam? Give me a break. And the tractor beam has no backup systems whatsoever? And when Han Solo found those stormtroopers, why didn't they immediately start chasing him? Han Solo was one person. They were many. They should have started chasing him right off the bat instead of running off. And why didn't Han immediately surrender? He's facing a whole bunch of stormtroopers, and he just sits there and starts chasing them? That doesn't make any sense. And really, all stormtroopers have in their belts grappling hooks and ropes? Really? And let me ask you this. Are you telling me that Princess Leia cannot aim as well as Luke Skywalker? Really? And what is Princess Leia a princess of? They never explain that. And then they say that she was voted into office. I wasn't aware that princesses were ever voted into anything. Okay? And the door didn't open all the way right away. They're over there, and they have this bridge they're supposed to go over. And you see that after the door had been shut, the door comes up just a certain way, and it stops. Why didn't it just come all the way open right off the bat? I'd like to know that one. And why did the stormtroopers leave the other side of the bridge? What, somebody call them away or something? And when Obi-Wan finally met up with Darth Vader, why didn't Obi-Wan take off his cloak? It would have made it a lot easier for Obi-Wan to deal with Darth Vader if he'd have taken his cloak off. And Luke Skywalker has better aim than Han Solo? Really? And you're telling me that a maintenance crew could not fix the tractor beam before Han Solo got his Millennium Falcon off the small moon? Really? I mean, it shouldn't have taken very long to reactivate the tractor beam. That's silly. And seriously, Luke Skywalker, only being on the Millennium Falcon for a few hours, suddenly knows how every piece of equipment on that wonderful ship works? Really? And you're telling me that only 4 TIE fighters pursued the Millennium Falcon? Right. And have you ever thought that Alderaan and Yemen must be pretty close together? They must not be too far from each other, because the small moon actually was able to make it from Alderaan to Yemen. Right. And you're telling me that up until now, the Empire was unsuccessful in finding the rebel base. Right. You have got rebel spaceships flying towards the small moon, and the small moon did not one time activate its tractor beam and draw some of those rebel ships and apprehended the rebel ships. Really? And let me get this straight. The small moon, as big as it is, only had one tractor beam? Should have had at least a dozen of them. Right. And they didn't launch the TIE fighters right away? Right. Now, outer space has no oxygen, which means that you would have never heard any sounds outside the small base or the rebel ships or the Empire ships or whatever. Okay. So, when they told the pilot to eject, why would he eject? How was he going to eject out of that? You were talking about it's cold in outer space, and it's really cold in outer space. It has no oxygen, and the guy is being told to eject? Really? General Tarkin never asked what the flaw actually was? And why bother to use the turbo lasers when they weren't very effective? Why did they turn them on in the first place? And even when they did turn them on, when they found out how ineffective they were, why did they just shut them off? They weren't being very effective anyway. Why keep switching them on? That's silly. And how long does it take to activate the main device of the small moon? I mean, gosh, it seemed like forever. And you're telling me that Luke Skywalker was able to escape the small moon before it was disassembled? Really? And why was Han Solo and Chewbacca carrying their lasers at the awards ceremony? And why didn't anybody say a word at this awards ceremony? Why didn't Princess Leia make a speech? Give me a break. Are you kidding me? Anyway, as you can see, there's a ton of questions here. Even though I loved the movie and I thought it was great and it was very entertaining, there's just a lot of things that were missing. They should fix those things. That's the kind of things they need to fix with this movie. Let's see if you guys can answer any of those questions. I'd like to see you do it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this presentation. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.